My money story starts with me growing up in a single parent home, living in government assisted housing, receiving food stamps, at times experiencing periods without electricity or heat. Now, don't misunderstand me. I was not mistreated or cared for growing up. And despite what sounds like poverty, I had a really fun and safe childhood. I was poor, but so was everyone else I knew. So when I walked to the corner store with paper food stamp in hand, so did all of my friends. I returned plastic bottles for penny candy, wore hand-me-down clothing, and was really familiar with sifting through pre-loved items at the Goodwill. I thought everyone was waiting for their school clothes to come off of layaway at Kmart. I really didn't understand that we didn't have a whole lot until my late middle school and high school years. I left home at 18 years old, and from 18 to 21, I spent recklessly. I spent money without rhyme or reason because I simply just didn't want to look and feel poor anymore. So, the brand name stores really were so happy to give me their high interest credit cards, and I felt amazing leaving the stores with tons of bags in hand. So I ran up debt, and I ran up a lot of it. And by the time I was 21, I had to file for bankruptcy because creditors were on my back about the money I owed them plus the interest. Fast forward 7 years, I thought I had my credit back on track. I purchased a small 2-bedroom, 2-bath home with all brand new furniture to boot and all the appliances. And I had a newer car and I had the payments. I was living what I thought was the American dream. I figured if I could afford the items, then I could afford all the things. I thought I was getting good with money now. And so with all of my payments on track and no creditors calling, but I had no margin. So I picked up a part-time job because I didn't want to go back to where I was before. I didn't want to have to file bankruptcy. I didn't want to be in a financial situation that I couldn't climb up out of. But in all reality, I was back at the 21-year-old self again. I was at the same spot I was before. I didn't have any margin. And honestly, I thought I figured out how everyone else was doing it. And maybe I did figure that out. But having no margin was really scary. I wasn't really contributing to my 401k. At times, I wasn't even getting the match. At times, I wasn't even contributing at all, or taking out 401k loans. And I didn't have any real savings to speak of. My emergency funds were my credit cards. So, at this time, I realized it was a behavior problem and not an income problem. So I began listening to a popular money and finance podcast daily, Dave Ramsey. And every caller and every situation sounded a lot like mine. So I took a page out of the the Dave Ramsey book and I tallied up all of my cards, accounts, all of my accounts, everything I owed, everyone and everybody else. All of the things I owed. I tallied everything up and I put them smallest to largest and I began working the debt snowball. So I started paying back all the debt. And in less than a year's time, I was able to pay back everything and everyone that I owed. So no more credit cards, no more 401k loans, no more car loans. It paid it all back. And it amazed me. But I was shocked and honestly really frustrated at the amount of money I had wasted over the years. And I didn't look back. I started watching all the YouTube videos, all about finances, and every book and podcast that I could get my hands on. I wanted to understand. I wanted to know what I didn't know. I started dreaming about a life that looked very different than mine. And it wasn't about looking rich. It was about getting to financial stability. It was about potentially being able to be a help and blessing to my family and also to others. So I'm a natural spender, right? And so although I no longer accumulate debt, I have to continuously be honest with myself, and I need community. And that's one of the reasons I thought I would start here. I need community. I have a few people that are in my life, thankfully, that have inspired me, that have paid off their homes, that have paid off large amounts of debt, that have cash flowed college and for themselves or for their children. And so I have that. But I feel like for me, community and accountability is key. So, I'm glad I'm not under the cloud of shame. Personal finance for me is very personal. And I look forward to continue to share my story.